Hey, it's Jeff here, and today is part 2 of our series of building a theater room. Up to this point, we have done our soundproofing in behind, our air sealing, our mass, which is our sauna pan system. Looks amazing. We've got 5-inch drywall going up, but we're at that point where we've got to finish constructing. We've got to put in our pocket door frame system, and that is really the key of the video today. We're going to show you our subfloor system. We're going to show you the pocket door that we're using, and we're going to show you guys how to get that system installed like French doors, which is going to be kind of cool. I have got 2 barn doors that I'm going to cut to fit to use as pocket doors because they look really sexy. They're going to be framed up like the letter Z or Z, depending on which part of the world you live in. Before I can build anything, I've got to get my subfloor system attached. Note, understanding the end from the beginning. Here's the pocket door frame. Looks pretty darn flimsy, and right now it's held together with a plastic bracket, which is great. You can see at the bottom here, there's a little metal bracket with a screw hole. What a great location, right? One little spot to put in a screw. So my job is to figure out where this goes in relationship to my door, and then extend another piece of wall behind it. But because I'm putting in a subfloor system, I'm getting a thermal break and 5-inch OSB. I don't want to raise up my floor 1.25 inches in front of this or around this. So I'm going to throw my subfloor system in place first and then start constructing on top of that. So let's go get some subfloor. And in the world of subfloor systems, there's a myriad of options, and if you haven't seen it, I'll put a link in the video description. We did a whole video talking about 6 different subfloor systems, what to use where and when and why, because there's a lot of different solutions, and you can actually factor in cost. Okay, what I'm doing today is building materials. It's not a sponsored product. This particular subfloor is 3/4 inch closed cell foam with 5/8 OSB plywood. This will be very easy for me to build out and finish off. There we are. Since they didn't chalk a line, I'm going to go ahead and do myself a favor. I'm going to square off my subfloor to whatever the heck is going on here. Yeah, I like that. All right, now a system like this, really easy to install. Here we go. This is next gen Tapcon screws. Look at this sexy stuff, huh? One of the most common questions I got is, what kind of Tapcon screw do you use with your subfloor system? And I'm going to recommend this. 3/16 is the width, the diameter of the screw, and 2 3/4, that's for the length. Now here's why. Concrete floors are usually poured 3 to 4 inch, but you don't need 3 inches of screw in the concrete to hold down subfloor. Generally, you want half of the screw in the concrete and half the screw your floor assembly. So I got 3/4 subfloor and 5/8 OSB, which means that I am going to be more than fine with a 2.5 inch screw. 2 3/4 is just a little bit of extra insurance. Okay, we're about to find out if the bit that comes in the package is the right size hole. Here we go. Now, if this is done right, this type of pan head should go flush with the wood when it's finished. Nope. Okay, maybe I didn't go all the way to the chuck. We'll try that again. Here we go. One of the parts of the problem with using this kind of impact driver is it's really hard on screws. Okay, much happier with that. Really, the key is make sure that your hole is deep enough to receive the screw, because you can't force it any deeper once you hit concrete on the bottom. Let's get a second screw in just so this thing isn't sliding around on us. See the little volcano action? Traditionally, my method of doing this was never clean out the hole. For whatever reason, this concrete pour, this particular screw, the size of the drill bit, if I don't clean out the hole, there's too much resistance and I'm shearing off the head. It really is a learn as you go scenario. There's no such thing as one rule for life. Products change, materials change. That's a new product. I've never used the white screws before. So if you run into trouble and you keep ripping your heads off, try cleaning out the hole a little bit. All right? Now remember, pocket doors are designed to be installed on your subfloor. And that's what this is now. Okay, not the finished flooring. That'll be fine. We'll get along just great with that. Step 2 in this process is find the center of the hole. We're looking at 68.5, which means 34.25. That's about here. Okay, and whenever you make something center mark, throw a C on it. That'll tell the whole world what that is. Just in case there's an extra mark and you come back later and you go, oh, I can't remember which one was which. Now you know. Here comes the pocket door marvel. In a perfect world, this is all just going to line up and be absolutely tickety-boo. But because of my sound insulation, I have a bit here that I got to cut out. Okay, get that trim in nice and snug. There we go. Now, this is an uncoupled wall. This is part of the soundproofing system. We are not attaching anything about this wall to the existing wall. We're only going to attach this to the subfloor, which isn't attached to that wall, and to the ceiling, which isn't attached to that wall. So we're making an interior wall of a wall so that we don't have any direct contact from inside to outside through either wood or fixtures or fasteners, so that there's no capacity for that sound to travel. And that's the key. It's bad enough that we're sacrificing a little bit of quality here because, well, let's face it, this basement, that's the only window right behind you. And if we don't have pocket doors here, there's no daylight coming into the rest of the space. And every once in a while, when you lose power, it's nice to have a little daylight. We are going to start with that, and then we are going to integrate. This is how these things are done. It's been a while, Jeffrey, or what? Hey, holy cow. And this all just fits together like a little puzzle. Okay. There we go. Boom. I've got to trim back this screen board just a little bit. It is going to be in my way. Yes, it's that easy. If you've never worked with this Soundproof product before, watch the first video in this series because you're going to see all the benefits of it. But let's just face it, the sound quality in this room for a basement is amazing. And that is the beginning of a theater room for sure. It's not just sound separation. It's sound management. Here we go. Round 2. We're going to set everything where we want to set it. And ultimately that means that I have to consider how I'm finishing out here as well. So I got things where I want to put them. Let's check to see if we're level. Next, I'm going to hold it in position. The center line on the green board, I transferred onto this. Now I'm going to transfer that line here, because I'm going to have a pocket door on that side as well. This is a 2-door system. So instead of having this finished and a return, I'm going to cut it off so it's continuous all the way through. That's all I need right there. I'm just going to grab my saw and cut this bad boy. So here's what that looks like inside. From here over is the frame. This is the extension. This doesn't have to be here. I might even end up taking it away and re-trimming it out. But for now, we'll keep it in place. And you can see all this extra space. When you hang a door, you simply take your door and you mount your wheels a few inches from the end so they never come off the track. Okay, here we go. Whenever you got a tool like this, always cut something and then mark exactly where the blade eats. That way, whenever you're cutting something, you're not just cutting the length, you're cutting where you want the blade to eat, which is super important. There we go. It's just brad nailed. We are going to set these aside for later. We may or may not use them. All right, here we go. I'm going to cut the top of this as well. So I'm going to repair my door kit now. Instead of relying on these brad nails, I'm going to actually drive a screw. Into softwood lumber, it's almost guaranteed to split. So what I'm going to do is going to go in reverse. I'm going to pilot hole my drill until I'm almost finished, then I'll drive it forward. Once you see it smoking like that, it's kind of like cauterizing a wound. It'll never split. Lined up where I want it. Just before we start a fire, that's where you want to pull it. Okay, there we go. And away we go. Now we're ready. French door, pocket door. The only thing I have to do now is continue the subfloor and then measure the same frame back to this location, cut it, join it together, and then we can finish off with brand new trims that go all the way to the outside. That's the easy part. So now I got a system. All I have to do now is get some 2x4s, make a couple of boxes so I can mount floor to ceiling, screw this to that box, duplicate that to the other side. We've got a pocket door system. Here we go for the first time in a while. First time I pulled the laser level out on this job since I've been here. Anyway, here's what we're gonna do. These door kits come with a jamb for the other side of the hole. And so I'm gonna incorporate it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna close up. This turns out to be the perfect depth for this thickness of this wall. Who knew? And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set it here, I'm gonna put it on shims, level it off, and then I'm gonna bring this up to that point, and then I'm gonna cut and mark this again. If I do that on both sides, it's gonna change the way that I finish this, but at least it'll look really bloody finished. And that'll be a good thing. So I already know, because I use the level, that both of these walls are like this. So the bottom is gonna go flush, and then I'll shim from there. All right, here we are. Okay, well here we are. We're gonna just release all of this packaging and get my other jamb. There it is. Put that in storage. If you ever get material like this, don't throw it out. One day you'll need it, and then you go to the store to buy one, and you realize they want to charge you 15 or 20 bucks for it. So small little pieces of the rectangle are worth their weight in gold. Get that out of here. I'll put that out of here for now. Let's get that one installed. If I'm gonna do something on one side, I might as well do it on both, using the same tools and materials. Got to get used to that. It's not pneumatic. Here's why we're doing this. Because now, when I put that in, get that out of the way for now. Boom. That'll be the way it finishes. That looks very intentional. So that's why we're doing this. So the goal here really is to get this installed as level as possible. Shim it off. We're just taking advantage of an opportunity here, really. You know, like I always say, know the end from the beginning. And you know, when I started putting this together, I thought I had the end figured out, but when I went and checked, that became a very useful piece of extra material. So I'm probably gonna save 15 or 20 bucks for each of those. That's awesome. All right, let's make sure we're flush on the face. Yeah. So this is not square. That's what's going to throwing me off. That can be a little frustrating, eh? Just gotta nail it. All right. What do you say? Now I'm just tacking this in for now. I'll use something with a little more robust. Completely level it off later. Okay, here we go. All right. And then here. It is nice when the framing is actually pretty darn level. Makes life simple. Oh, now we can move this over. We'll check our positioning. And then because we marked our center line, I'm gonna double check how my location is working. Wow, I'm still perfect here. Good, that one doesn't need to change. Now, the most interesting thing about this build is I'm trying to have it uncoupled, but I don't want to have it fall over and hit the cameraman again. So I am going to just throw one of these in here. It's a 2-inch nail. Oh, and that didn't grab, did it? Nope, too much material. I'm going to put one screw in temporarily. How's that sound? There, that'll keep it from falling over. Because what I got to do is I got to make a wall here. And I want to make a little H-frame up top in order we can install the drywall. And then we're going to install this one over here in this location. Do basically the same thing. Now, I'll have to remove this screw later. And when we're back to here, I think what we can do, we should be able to just measure the gap from here to here and then go cut it right now. 34. Okay. I want to have to take one look at this real quick before I go guessing. I better put that on. Take a good look here. Yeah, you see what's not perfect though? Oh, I got it on backwards. 1 second. There we go. That's how that gets installed. Yeah, I'm 34 from the metal. I'm measuring here from the metal. Okay. You only get to do this once or you're buying a brand new frame. So I'm actually 34 5/8. That's good to know. 1 damn second. Is it actually perfect? I might not have to do a cut at all. That is really weird. The problem is this wood. It's installed in the wrong spot, but I'm getting rid of that anyway. Those are just extra. Okay. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this, pull this over, tie them both together, and then I'll use the shims to install this where I want it when it's done. That's okay, we'll live to fight another day. So inside these tracks, they've got holes that aren't used. And I'm going to just align my 2x4. Here we are. Boom. And I'm just using this like a header, just to make it one door, one piece to manipulate. The more of these things are floating around on their own, the harder it is to finish this off. This will square everything off. Boom. Now it's one door. Let's just throw a screw in over here now. Okay, wow, that just took a little bit, way too much brain power. Next thing, let's just move right on into measuring for this frame. We'll go 19. So if I use a 19 top and bottom, I'm going to be coming in contact with that drywall no matter what I do. Okay, 19 to that point there. This takes a little bit of guesswork, but I'm going to intentionally measure shy. I'm going to go to 99 1/4. And the reason I'm doing that is it's easier to put a wall up and have it be shy, and they use a 3-inch screw to make contact with those posts than to try to make it perfect. All right, now I'm going to take this, I'm going to go flush with the face of the horizontal piece on the door. Throw a few screws in here to tie it all together. So this gap is going to be maintained. Part of using this trim and overlapping the cap here is causing me a bit of an issue. I mean, it looks pretty, but now I gotta maintain this 1/2-inch gap all the way over here so I can stay square. There we are. And there's one hole right here in a metal bracket. Well, there we have it. First half. That seemed like a lot more work than it should have been. So instead of trusting 2x4 as a straight edge here, which I can't because this is built out material, so it's really hard to get these aligned properly. So what I do know is that this wall was made on a chalk line. I want to maintain my 1/2-inch space right over here. And then I want to make sure you can see that that's pretty level. And I have the ability to make this adjustment. So I think what I want to do is I'm going to take a 2x4. I'm going to go put it on the flat up against the wall. Whew. Yeah, there's just enough space. What to do, what to do. Okay, so I'm not going to have a whole lot of options here. Yeah, that's not even going to reach. Sometimes having a plan and from the beginning is just impossible. And you got to make it up as you go along. Sometimes you end up doing it all twice. At least watching this video, you're going to get an idea, the pros and cons of what I'm doing here. All right, there we go. We'll throw another one in. Trying to minimize the fasteners connecting these walls as much as possible. But at the end of the day, and that missed. Come on now. Oy, oy, oy. Oh, this was got to go in bloody level, eh? Yeah, that'll work. Okay, the challenge here really is this. I have 2 doors, each inside their own pocket. One continues across the top, so at least the top meets. What happens at the bottom, I have no idea. But here's the thing. That one screw at the very bottom is accessible even after the fact. So if I have to, I can disengage those 2 screws, line up the walls, and then drop them in again. So that's in my benefit. I really am not gonna know if this is perfect or not until I get the doors in. That'll tell me everything I need to know. Okay, now we gotta get in here. Let's just line that up first. Oh, come on, honey. Okay, all right. Perfect. What if I just added a nailing surface across the top? It's got a couple of measurements here. Really, this is all about having a nailing surface for my drywall. At this point, 77 inches will do the job. And then I need a full one here, flipped up. Because as long as I mount it this way, Max, I can adjust my whole bloody wall down the road once the doors are in. There we go. So that was a lot of fussing around, but we finally got it where I'm happy with it, I think. I'm trying to build a wall inside of another wall. And the last thing I want to be concerned about is everything here level and square, that's old. I can only worry about the doors because they're going to be coming together. I can't have them like this when they close. We've got the ability to unscrew at the very front and make adjustments to each door so I can get the swing perfect. I'm happy with that. I've got a box here that's a nailing surface for drywall tied to the ceiling. Nailing surface up there. I've got this screwed to here, and I screwed it at this point, here and here. Okay, I'm just leaving an X here so I can find them. If I need to take these out and then reposition the mounting later to make sure everything closes properly, that's an option. So I've got 4 screws, bottom there, and the top's up through here. And that I can access at any time, so I can make adjustments as I go. Now it's time to finish closing, because tomorrow we start taping this bad boy. Let me just get the first piece on. Got one more trick I want to show you when you're working with a pocket door. Really nice if you're working with 5/8 drywall. They're not really designed for 5/8 drywall, so I'm most likely gonna have to add myself a rectangle when I trim it out, but that's not a real big issue. I'm just gonna come here, I'm gonna mark so that it goes into here. That's my location, and I've got to cut so that this joint ends up resting in the middle of this, right here, okay? I want to have a screw surface so that this whole piece isn't just floating in an emptiness. And if you're wondering, yes, this is 54-inch drywall. When I got the delivery for this room, they only had 54-inch drywall 12-foot sheets available. So unfortunately, I had to buy a whole bunch of this stuff. Okay. Now, the height to the middle, yeah, makes sense. 4 feet creates a little bit extra work for me, eh? But hey, it's only drywall. And there we go. Okay, now here's a warning for you. When you're going to put your screws in on these hollow door kits, you have to remember there's going to be a door in that hole, and you have to buy extremely short screws. Now, if you're using 1/2-inch drywall, your 1/2 inch plus the full thickness of this wood, it's 1 1/4 inches. You can't go with a traditional 1 1/2-inch screw. You got to go get a 1-inch screw, because when you start sinking it on the tapered edges, the screw sticks out just a tip, just about 1/8, and then when you open and close your door, you get gouges in it, and that's maddening. So in this case, I'm using 1 1/4 inch screw, but that's because I got 5/8 drywall, and I got a screw set on this to make sure that it doesn't go too deep. Check. You don't want to feel it at all, because all it takes is for wide the door's open, someone just leans on this wall, and it deflects. There goes all your beautiful work. So make sure your screw is short enough, come on honey, that it's not sticking out the other side. There we are. All right, well, you get the idea. It's drywall. Well, now that our framing is all done, and I whipped together a quick pocket door, I'm just joking. This is actually available as a barn door at Home Depot. It's extra wide, extra high, so it's not an 80-inch slab. This is like 84, I think. This is great if you're doing a project and you want to have a surface barn door on the rollers. Right now they're making these things, so you don't have to construct your own. We're going to actually cut this down just a touch. I love the width. Don't forget, my vision for this is to have the door sticking out about 3 1/2 inches and then have a nice handle on each side. So you can just close it and open it from either side, and it's not going to be recessed inside the wall 100%. I always just found that the hardware for that is sloppy and silly, and you got to stick your thumb in there and pull out the little pin. We're going to go sexy. Boom, big handles. All right. So what I wanted to do is take a quick second here to do a little bit of framing, and you'll understand in a second, because that's a 36-inch. Now here's the wheels. They just pop in and out. These are adjustable. And right now, it's just set for the maximum depth. In the package that it comes with a tiny wrench, and you can stick it on here, and you can just lift it up, lift it up, lift it up, okay? What we're gonna do is we're gonna take advantage. Oop, there we go. Lots of fussing around. There we go, that's locked in now. And this will sit on top of here, and we move it a few inches back just so that it doesn't accidentally fall out through the hole, because that comes out pretty quick and easy, right? So by installing it a couple inches back, and by adding a screw after we're done, we'll create a bumper, and then so it'll stop, and that'll be nice. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave it fully extended, and I'm gonna measure for my door from here to the floor. And I'm going to compensate for the fact that I'm putting in an engineered hardwood floor, and I'm gonna try to measure this about as close to perfect as the guy can possibly get. And that looks like 80 3/4. Now I'm gonna slide it over here and double check the measurement. See how close to level, oh, right on the money. And I'll do the same for this side. See how close to level? Ha ha! Perfect every time, I love it. This is brilliant. It was a bit of fussing around getting this framing in, but now that I've got it level, square, plumb, all those wonderful things, the rest of this project is easy, right? So now I got 80 3/4. That's the height to my floor. I'm gonna take off the 3/4. That's not the thickness of my floor, but the truth is I gotta have at least 1/8 of an inch of a gap, right? I can't just drag it across the floor. So we're just gonna cut it to 80. Boom, done. Now, because it's a pocket door, I want to show you this. It's got this phenomenal little guide groove on it, okay? So, what I'm planning on doing is installing that guide groove right outside the door here. So when we're all said and done, I'll slide the doors back and forth. We'll get that lined up, and that groove will help to make them meet in the middle. And then I'm gonna use a little mullion trim overside one of the doors to create like a C-channel so the other door fits into it. And that'll give me my airtight seal. Throw a couple magnets on there, we're gonna be good to go. Right now we're gonna cut the top, and I've gotta set one other thing up. I'm gonna show you how to set the depth because you don't want the door sliding all the way into the cavity and damaging your woodwork with your handles. So we've gotta create a bumper for that as well. First, let me just rip this down to 80 and give it a quick sand. So I'm looking to try to screw these a couple inches from the edge. There's my one location, first and second, here we go. All right, and we really want to try to nail this dead on the middle. 1 3/8. Just double the bottom. Oh God, this isn't working for me. How about just, that looks like it's in the damn middle to me. There we go. Holy cow, I'm really overcomplicating this. All right, now, in a perfect world, I think pre-drilling would be a good idea here, but this is softwood lumber and it should receive the screw no problem. I'm just making sure because in these environments you usually get a lot of knots. We are going to be just fine. The reason I did that in advance is because this is tricky with hardware. I want to offset it a little bit, make sure you got a direct line. Here we go. Go back. All right. Now let's try to square that off. There we go. All right. Same for the other side. Okay. Warning, I did that backwards. This little pin needs to be accessible. So you have to have them on the same side of the door. I like it on the interior side. There's gonna be one little piece of trim here, right? And you should just put a couple brad nails in it and that's it. And if you ever need to access this to make adjustments over time, the door can, sag or slump, you can take this one piece of trim off and then you'll be able to see this and have access to this nut. And that's very vital. So make sure that these pins are all facing inside the room. Sometimes you just move so fast, you miss the details. There we go. All right, let's hang this sucker. Hoy. All right, now, because this is the French door, I can actually install this door after the fact, right? In a lot of cases, if you're only using one panel, you've got to hang the door before you close up the other side, or you got to hang the door depending on your environment just to lift it into place. But because this is a French door, I have this kind of freedom. Here we go. All right, that is phenomenal. And yes, it's too low right now. But like I said, we can take our wrench, we can make adjustments. I can pop it in and out as I need it. But for now, let's take a look at this. And remember what I told you, using the short screws, okay? You shouldn't feel any prickly things on the back. Because here, even while we're just testing this out, this door's bouncing around, right? You don't wanna go, oh, I don't really need it. One straight gouge in a piece of wood, the door's garbage, because you'll never fix that. That's my final resting place. Imagine a nice, great big handle on here, right? That'd be cool. So, we have to do something to make sure that this doesn't fall all the way in. because I don't want to be damaging the face of my wood. So let's just try to go with, that's a good measure. Looking about 2.5 inches to build out. Okay, 2x4 to the rescue, huh? That's why it pays to keep scrap wood around. Never know when you're gonna need a 2x4. Save the day. All right, here we go. Loving it. Now, in the package with the door comes this little rubber stopper. This is the bumper, and it should be set at about the middle of the door. Right there. Now, that's what happens. You hear that? Almost nothing. Now that sets my door. I got beautiful location for a handle. I'll just stay with a nice big surface screw in situation. This will work perfectly. All right, now all I gotta do is cut the other one, stick it in as well. And I'm gonna stain these in place after the fact. Watch this. I can pull this door all the way out and stain the entire door. I can even cheat. Pop over into the next track if I absolutely need to. It's not as easy as you might think, but hey, it can be done. Okay, here we go. I can slide it right over the middle. And then I can stain the door, and then I can slide it back, and I can pull the other one out in the middle and stain that one, and let them dry hanging in place. But for now, I gotta use this to get back out of the room, so here we go. So listen, we're gonna just measure off 80 inches on both sides. Alrighty. Gives me an opportunity to see if my drywall square is still square. She's out a little bit. Straight edge, here we go. Because of the nature of the door, this is gonna be up inside the cavity. No one's gonna see it. I don't have to sand it clean. It doesn't even have to be perfect. What it has to be is out of the way. So I'm gonna put my black line above my pencil so I don't eat too much of the door off. I'm gonna have my finger on the side, and off we go to the races. There we go. All right. Now that might look a little funny on camera, but just imagine this in the door. I'm gonna have molding and trim work coming down to here. So this door just disappears inside the cavity of the wall. It's not gonna look bad at all. And you don't wanna start cutting off the bottom because that is visible. So keep the factory line, especially when you've got the groove. If I started cutting down there, I wouldn't have a groove anymore, and I would lose the ability to control the base of the door and how it's gonna line up. All right, guys, back here with the finish coat. This is it's a Varathane water-based finish enamel. I don't want these doors to be too shiny, and it just needs a little bit of a stir here. There we go. Last thing you want to do with these things is really mix a whole lot of air into them. And so treat them like an oil, even though it's a water base. Okay, here we are. Yeah, it's gonna make a hell of a mess, isn't it? Try working out of the top of that can. This is not paint. This is really watery, okay? Here we go. It's like a wet glue. Here we go. And because it's water-based, you start at the top and you work your way down. So we're gonna work, let's do the inside of this first. Here we go. Now remember, this is like next day. We've given this thing, what? At least 8 hours to dry. And I want to just get a little bit of that up inside there. There we go. Okay. Very important that we get a nice, consistent coverage on all the surfaces so that they're all going to look the same later. This milkiness, of course, is going to dry out, so don't be worried about it. That's why we're showing it to you, because this looks a lot different than an oil-based finish, doesn't it, going on? Okay. Now, I'm just gonna go ahead and paint the whole doors, both sides, and then we're gonna pop on the door handles and show you all the finished trim, all right? All right. Time for the handles for the doors, guys. Now, here we go. Interesting. So for simplicity, I'm putting this tape roughly where I want my handle to go. Okay, on both sides, which is the middle of this exposed panel. That's the bottom. And My handles aren't quite that big, but that's fine. First of all, let's get the level line on there. Yeah, it's difficult to see. There it is. Okay, so we've got to drill some holes here. And now I got some tools on me. I feel like I'm not naked for this dance. Here we go. The instructions, cute. Told me to get a drill bit 7/32. They don't even carry that size. But the hole isn't as important, okay, as the torque you're using. All we got to do is pick a bit that's just a little bit wider than this bolt. So now I know what I'm going to drill with. I need to get a really accurate measurement from screw to screw on this. Set screw is the middle of the handle. So instead of measuring from middle to middle, I'm going to measure from the outside to the top. And that'll be the same number. So 11 1/8 and a bit. I'll put the handle down for a minute. 11 1/8 and a bit. Wow. Okay. That's that. 11 1/8 and a bit. Okay. This one is sticking out 3 3/4, 1 1/2, 1 7/8. Yeah, so just below, just before the 2-inch, 1 7/8. 1 7/8. Okay. Here we go. That's why you gotta love having tape. Now we're just gonna drill the holes. This is nice. My hole is trying to... My bit was running on me, so I came at it from an angle, and now I straightened it out to finish the hole. Oof. I'm not gonna make anything vertical if I have a bit running around on me. Okay, they're good bits, but they don't have a little tip, so they like to run. All right, now we can lose the tape. I got these handles on Amazon. They're nice, and they're big enough that they can cover any kind of marring or chipping that happens on the wood. And it just gets threaded in. Nice. I gotta get my little plastic caps on here. Okay. What they do is they just set a depth of a 1/16 of an inch off the wood. Nice clean finish. There we go. We just get these started with our fingers. Okay, I see what's happening here. Wow. I want to have that nice and square. Yeah, nice, sweet. Okay, and of course, this finishes off with an Allen key. Open that up, make enough room for it. There's a delicate space here where you can open it up far enough. If you open it up too much, it just falls to the ground. So try to be in a quiet space while you're doing this. Okay, at least this one can roll around after the door. Okay, and we'll do the same on the other side. Now the doors are done. I popped in that last piece of trim, and now I'm putting in screws right at the end of my track so that they can't pop out. I don't need to move them into the middle to do any more work, so this is to make sure that they have a stopper right where the screws are. Yeah. All right. All right. There's the doors. Whew.